Is that good?
Yep.
Okay.
Good morning. My name is Halley, and I will be your chairperson for today's Nirvana Day Service. Are there any visitors or new students and families here this morning? If so, welcome to our temple. Could those of you sitting near them help them find the proper pages for the sutras, gathas, and readings? Thank you. First, we will have Sanbujo on page 24 in the Big Book, followed by Hyobyakumo, then Sutra Chanting Juseige on page 23 in the Little Book and page 93 in the Big Book.
Today, on this occasion of the Nirvana Day Service, the members of the San Jose Buddhist Church, Betsuin, have reverently come before me, the Buddha, with deepest reverence and thankfulness for the all-embracing wisdom and compassion of Amida. We reaffirm the three homages. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance.
Yobutsumuge
We will now have Daihyo Shoko by the following organizations: Cub Scout Pack 611, Boy Scout Troop 611, Daisy Troop, Brownie Troop, Junior Girl Scout Troop, Cadet Troop, Senior Girl Scout Troop and Ambassador Troop, Lotus Preschool, Morgan Hill Dharma School, San Jose Dharma School, San Jose Junior YBA, DSPO. San Jose Betsuin. Now we will have Gatha, Long Ago in India, on page 65 in the Little Book, followed by the Golden Chain, which is located on page 2 in the Little Book and page 15 in the Big Book under Golden Chain 1.
Long ago in India, a little babe was born, and all around were pretty flowers to greet that glorious morn. Far away in India, this babe began to grow, and all around were happy sights, so pain he did not know. Long ago in India, he studied hard from all. He learned so well, he soon became the greatest prince of all. Far away in India, the prince went out to see the city and its inhabitants, and felt great sympathy. Long ago in India, the prince decided to go and seek the way to save us all from pain and death. Far away in India, the prince had found the truth, and now he's Buddha, wise and kind, who shows the way to peace.
The Golden Chain. I am a link in Amida's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I will keep my link bright and strong. I will be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will think pure and beautiful thoughts, say pure and beautiful words, and do pure and beautiful deeds. May every link in Amida's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namo Amida Butsu.
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 Now we will have Dharma lesson by Reverend Mikame.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? Doing okay? Okay, thank you. Today we are here to observe the Nirvana Day. So, do you know when is the Nirvana Day? Today? Is it today? No, it's actually the next day, the day after the Valentine's Day. What were you doing? Okay, yeah. So yeah, it's February 15th. It was is the Nirvana Day. Yes. So Nirvana Day is the Buddhist annual Buddhist festival, annual Buddhist ceremony that remembers the death of Shakyamuni Buddha when he reached Nirvana after at the age of 80. Sorry. What does Nirvana mean to us? My sensei in Japan told me, hearing Dharma is something like seeing the map in the world. I think this is a kind of hint to us. By the way, can you read the map? No? Maybe yes? You're good. So now we have less chance to read the actual paper map. Oh, sorry, than before. Maybe many of you might use map apps like Google Maps or Waze or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. So, but when you go to the shopping mall, you might have a chance to see the map mall at the entrance, and that is not let you. That is not to let you get lost. Let's say when you go to Uniqlo, first maybe find Uniqlo, because that's where you want to go. Then, the next thing you do is find where you are, right? It's saying, you're here on the map. Then this will show you the direction, how to get there. When you see the map, knowing both where you are and the destination are very important. If you don't know either one, the map doesn't work. We hear the Dharma to know where we are and where our lives are going. Not hearing one or the other, but hearing both where we are and where we are going matters. How does Buddha Dharma tell us about where we are? Shakyamuni Buddha in India showed us the reality of our lives, which have limitations in the path to transcend difficulties through his teachings. He attained enlightenment at the age of 35. He continued his journey of journey for Dharma propagation for 45 years. That's a long time. And he showed us that everything, including our own lives, is changing moment to moment. And no one is an exception. There are a series of changes in our lives. Once we were born in this world, we continue to grow, have to get older, suffer from the illness, and come to the end of this life in accordance with the conditions that we face. This is the truth he showed us, and this is where we are. And also, he gave us a great lesson through his own life that is not an exception for himself as well. After attaining enlightenment, he lives in a human, ordinary person like us, such as with eating, drinking, and sleeping to maintain his body. However, he suffered from a food poisoning at one of his disciples' house on his way to visit his hometown in India, which led to his death. Right before knowing he was about to die, he lay down between the twin cedar trees. His disciple then gathered around him and then wept over his coming death and said, Shakyamuni Buddha, who will guide us if you leave us now? And Shakyamuni Buddha gave his final Dharma talk, ending with this admonishment. Listen, after I leave this world, make the Dharma your place of refuge, and make of yourself a light. All things in this world are impermanent. Follow the Dharma diligently. Those were his last words. Then, after passing, he was released from those physical disturbances and entered into perfect and complete nirvana. Until the last moments of his life, he never stopped spreading the Dharma. Through his own life, at the end of human life, he showed us where our lives are going forward, the path that allowed us free from any suffering, and the path to the nirvana. Entering to nirvana is to be born into the Buddha, who goes beyond any borders that our world has. It is not the silent and static one, but a dynamic working which reaches everyone, every living thing, to guide into the enlightenment with its great compassion and wisdom. So, he didn't say it was a lonely trip to the nirvana, to reach nirvana. What is important that Shakyamuni Buddha showed two things is to guide people according to his last message. One is ourself, and the other is the Dharma, indicating to make oneself and the Dharma candles as something to guide one in the dark. If he given only the Dharma, and if it would be like the teaching or commandments to guide them in the dark, Buddhism would not now be something in which all we have to do is follow his words and the commandments. However, it is not, because Shakyamuni Buddha left with us the other candle. That means, along with Buddha's words and truths, what matters in the end is nothing but oneself. We are in charge of everything we encounter and experience in our lives. When now you are fortunately have a great support from your family, teachers, and friends, but you are the only one who experiences this, not someone else. No matter how much you love your family and friends, we love our own lives separately. We cannot live someone's life and vice versa. Our own problem cannot be replaced by someone else and vice versa. The answer cannot be found somewhere else. We are the only ones who can choose the way to solve it, and the answers lies within ourselves, because only we are always in charge of it. When we face trouble in our lives, Buddhism offers us nothing for us to throw ourselves on, but merely offers something like a hint so that we can solve it. So Shakyamuni Buddha told us that his words and truth are the clues or the tools that we can use it to solve it or find the answer with. And this will always light up our way. So he left us values teachings so that we can walk our own pace according to our own circumstances. Therefore, although there are many different schools of Buddhism, we are all fellow travelers of the journey to Nirvana, Pure Land. You and me, and even your mother, father, grandmother, grandfather, your friends, and everyone is the same travelers of the same path. And Shakyamuni Buddha is traveling along with each of us through his remaining teachings. out of his many teachings, he particularly wishes us to live our lives and walk our path to the harmonious world by relying on Amida Buddha's guidance. Because Amida will assure everyone to guide us to nirvana in our lives. It's not just because it's not just the selected one, but it is everyone. Because Amida Buddha will never abandon anyone, whatever happened in one's life, and whenever, anytime, in any situation we are in. The Dharma lamp that Amida Buddha casts light on our life, on our path, will be nurtured to be able to awaken the brilliance of each life and appreciate each moment of the life in a true meaning throughout this life. So in your reciting Namo Amida Butsu, Shakani Buddha is happy for you, and Amida Buddha is also happy, and telling us where we are, and embracing each and everyone as we are equally, with this great compassion, and then guiding us here to the path of nirvana unfailingly. So Shakani Buddha tells us that with Amida's guidance, we will never miss our way to nirvana. Okay, thank you very much for your kind attention. I'd like to conclude my talk with Kansho and Sanbutsuge. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you.
Thank you to Reverend Mikame. We will now have Gatha Sayonara on page 103, followed by the promise located on page 5 in the little book and page 15 in the big book.
Sayonara minasan go kigenyo. Sayonara zei o daiji ni. Tanoshii kondo no tsudoi made.
The promise. We thank the Buddha for showing us the way of freedom. We will endeavor to walk in his noble path every day of our lives. Namo Amida Butsu.
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 Thank you to Rinban Sakamoto, Reverend Mikame, Mr. Akizuki, Mrs. Tanabe, and musician Mr. Yoshihara. Are there any announcements?
Well, anybody might be coming up. We have next week Sunday. There's no service here. However, if you would please join us for the annual Buddhist Churches of America Eitaikyo service. And the Eitaikyo service concludes the National Council meeting every year. And this Eitaikyo service is for everyone in the BCA and everyone who would like to participate and view. And fortunately, we're able to do this now through viewing it from wherever we are. The Eitaikyo service will start at 10 o'clock, and the link to that service can be found on the Buddhist Churches of America's website. So if you go to BuddhistChurchesofAmerica.org and you look at the events and you scroll down that pop-up menu, you see Eitaikyo service, Buddhist Churches of America Eitaikyo service. So please plan to join us for that. And it's a kind of special service. Bishop Harada was involved in the planning of this service. And one of the things that he wanted to do was to have a musical service. And so we began to think about who we might be able to ask to participate. And so we have several people who will be presenting musical numbers and also incorporating that into our Eitaikyo service. So please plan to join us again next week. The link is on the Buddhist Churches of America.org site, and it's under the events pop-up menu. So 10 o'clock next week, Eitaikyo service.
Good morning. I'm May Kawamoto, the Dharma School Superintendent. Just wanted to let you know that we're working on some enrollment increasement activities, and so keep an eye out for some messages, emails, polls. Would love to hear your ideas on how to increase enrollment in Dharma School. And then short announcement, junior choirs meeting at the Little Chapel after Dharma School today. Thanks.
Good morning. My name is Marcus Sakurai. I'm from Boy Scout Troop 611. On March 11th, we'll be having our family dinner. Each dinner will have Korean barbecue meat, rice, broccoli, salad, and dessert. You can reserve your ticket at the Eventbrite link. We will have dine-in or takeout. Each dinner will come with a raffle, and there will be an opportunity to purchase more raffle tickets that day. You can send or bring a check to the church office or give to any Boy Scout. There are flyers at the back of the church. If you have any questions, there's an email address on the flyer. Thank you for supporting our troop.
Great job, Marcus. Obviously I'm here to talk about Dharma Center again, fundraising. Just want to kind of give everyone a reminder that we extended our dollar for dollar matching campaign, to the $2 million matching campaign, to the end of February. So the end is coming up very quickly. So I know most of you have helped support us, but if you haven't, this is your last opportunity to get the matching for our fundraising. Thank you.
Before everyone leaves the temple, please straighten all the books for the next service. Those of you who are interested are welcome to attend the adult English service following this service. For your safety, please obey the crossing guards and look both ways before crossing the street. Thank you for attending today's service.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thanks. Thank you. Good morning. Good job. Good morning. Good morning. See you next week. Oh, not next week. Don't come next week. Good morning. Good morning. Hey, good morning. Good morning. See you next time. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. That's a good idea.
No, that's the way it used to be.
Used to be.
Because I remember standing outside, all of a sudden the doors are open, just mass of people coming out. So I wonder what happened. I wonder how that started.
Morning.
It's kind of weird. And I wouldn't know how to try to give it back to them, right?
Good morning. Good morning. Oh, shoot.
It just delays the next service, right?
Yeah. Well, major services we get to our home. Hello. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
When I was a kid, I remember coming in and dropping change in the bus. You know how change is, right? Then I'll show up sitting down.
Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Still walking around. Still walking around. Let's get it started.
Kansho, oh, hi Kansho. Yeah, hi. If I knew my was my at least I had one.
Good morning. My name is Larry Handa, and welcome to today's Dharma service. And I'll be your chairperson for today. We'll start today's service with sutra chanting Sanbujo, which is on page 24 of the larger book, followed by Hyobyakumo, and then we'll be reciting Sanbutsuge, which is on 79 of the larger book and 22 of the smaller book.
Namanda, namandos, namanda, namandos, namanda. Today, on this occasion of Nirvana Day, the members of the San Jose Buddhist Church, Betsuin, have reverently come before me, the Buddha, with deepest reverence and thankfulness for the all-embracing wisdom and compassion of Amida. We reaffirm the three homages.
Okay, we'll now have Daihyo Shoko from the following organizations. The Adult Buddhist Association, the Buddhist Women's Association, Morgan Hill, Hawakai, and the San Jose Betsuin. Thank you. We will now have Gatha Long Ago in India, which is on page 65 of the Little Book, followed by the recitation of the Three Treasures, which is on page 3 of the Little Book, and then we will have a Dharma message by Rinban Sakamoto.
He studied hard from all. He learned so well, he soon became the greatest prince of all. Far away in India, the prince went out to see the city and its inhabitants, and felt great sympathy. Long ago in India, the prince decided to go and seek the way to save us all from pain of birth and death. Far away in India, the prince had found the truth, and now he's Buddha, wise and kind, who shows the way to peace. If you would join now in the reading of the three treasures on page 3 in the Dharma School Service book. Hard is it to be born into human life. Now we hear it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be freed from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of your way to enlightenment, and awaken in ourselves our supreme will. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord in your life of harmony, in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriads of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. Thank you. Please be seated. Good morning. Welcome to this morning's service. Today is the day that we observe the passing of Shakyamuni Buddha. It is a Nirvana Day Service. And it's not unlike a memorial service that we would conduct here for families, members who have died, and who would observe a memorial service for those family members. And in a way, Shakyamuni Buddha is also a family member, a member of the Sangha that we are all a part of. And as we remember Shakyamuni Buddha on this day of Nirvana Day, we are especially mindful of the continued relationship that we share with him. That relationship, we have no direct experience with his life, but yet through his sutras, the memories that people shared of his talks, of their understanding of what he shared while he was alive, continues to be a part of our lives more than 2,500 years later. We often think when someone's life comes to an end, unless they're, of course, special individuals like Shakyamuni Buddha, where we have celebrations and observances that come to remind us of their lives, we often think, well, when that person's life came to an end, then the relationship with that person came to an end. And that person's life will now kind of be a part of our memory, but no influence in our lives. But we can see with the life of Shakyamuni Buddha, what he shared with others 2,500 years ago continues to be a part of our lives, continues to influence the way that we see and engage the world. When my father died, 60 years ago, not 2,500 years ago, but 60 years ago, his life, I had a very short time with him. I was 11 when he died. But those memories, those experiences that I shared with him continue to be a part of my life. And in a way that continues to change, and in a way that, as my understanding, as my experiences continue to grow, my understanding of those experiences continue to change. But the influence is still a part of my life, and still a very important part of my life. And so with Shakyamuni Buddha as well, what he shared with his students at the time when he taught for 45 years, said that at age 35, he passed away. He experienced enlightenment. And then 45 years later, at age 80, his life came to an end. And in that 45-year time, he shared with others. And so people had an opportunity to ask him questions, to hear him several times. And those experiences that those students had with Shakyamuni Buddha were eventually recorded, first in memory, and then written down. And those are the sutras, things that people, his students, recalled and shared soon after the time of Shakyamuni Buddha's death. One of the last things that Shakyamuni Buddha said, he said, be a lamp unto yourself, seek out your salvation with diligence. He encourages us to really kind of think about what we're doing, how we're understanding the world in which we live and our relationship with that world. That we have to be responsible for our actions, our understanding or lack of understanding, our interaction with the world around us. That we should have a sense of responsibility in that relationship. And that we should apply ourselves as best as we can to understanding the teachings that he shared. And again, Buddhism is really very simple. It's about resolving the difficulties that we cause and experience. And this is one of the first things that he talked about. Shakyamuni Buddha shared with those 5 students, those 5 disciples that followed him around for almost 6 years. And he shared with them this very basic understanding that we do encounter difficulties and cause difficulties. And those difficulties result from how we tend to engage the world. But we don't have to remain like that. We can resolve those difficulties, those conflicts that arise between ourselves and with others, with ourselves and the world around us. That as we cultivate a mind that simply sees things as they are, we can begin to kind of soften those boundaries that divide us. Today, as we observe Nirvana Day, it's not just celebrating or remembering or the life of a person that ended 2,500 years ago. It's not just a pattern or a form that we're remembering. We're remembering the contents of that life, that contents of what Shakyamuni Buddha shared with his students, with the people who came to listen to him, who found in what he had to share importance, something that was affirming of themselves, that gave meaning and a substance to how their lives began to change. One of the things in Buddhism that is, central is that everything is in a process of change. Everything is changing. And Shakyamuni Buddha said this too at the end of his life. He said, everything is impermanent. My life too is going to express that impermanence. I too will die. But when I die, after I'm gone, share with others. Let the Dharma be your teacher. But seek out your salvation with diligence. It's not up to someone else. We kind of have to think about it. We have to kind of think about our relationship to the world around us, our interaction with the world, and to think about it in the context of what Shakyamuni Buddha was talking about. In Jodo Shinshu, of course, we realize how difficult it is to cultivate that mind. The mind that simply sees things as they are, that is free of prejudice, that is free of these preferences that we tend to have and through which we engage the world. We realize in Jodo Shinshu, well, I should say in Jodo Shinshu, but as practicers of Jodo Shinshu, we realize how difficult it is to be free of these prejudices, that our lives are filled with that. Even if we recognize how these decisions that we make based upon what I like or what I don't like results in difficulties for ourselves and for others. Even as I realize that, I also realize how difficult it is to change that. In Jodo Shinshu, we understand, though, that although we cannot cultivate through our own effort, through our own work, cultivate the mind that simply sees things as they are, we are assured of the resolution of difficulty, that the vow of Amida Buddha affirms us as we are. But the deeper we think about our inability to cultivate that mind that sees things as they are, the instructions of Amida Buddha, seek out your salvation with diligence, practice, do what you can to resolve these difficulties. As we realize more profoundly, as we continue to think about our relationship to the world around us, as we reflect upon our own abilities and skills and begin to realize how profound that inability truly is, the inconsistencies. It's not that we're bad people, it's simply difficult to achieve, difficult to cultivate that mind. And the more profound that understanding becomes, we realize that the assurance of Amida Buddha affirms us as we are. And there's a deepening sense of gratitude and appreciation for that assurance. That Amida Buddha, Buddhism itself is not about punishing somebody for doing wrong and praising or rewarding someone for doing right. Buddhism is about resolving these difficulties that we cause and experience. That's all it is. So if we end up doing things that are inconsistent, that result in difficulties for myself and for others, it doesn't set you aside. It doesn't prevent you from realizing what Buddhism is about. But as we reflect upon that inconsistencies in our lives, our hopes to do better, and yet we continue to cause difficulties, as we realize how profound that way of living our lives truly is, and as we think about the assurance of Amida Buddha, affirming us as we are, realizing my own inconsistencies, I'm deeply grateful for that assurance. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you a useless person. It simply recognizes that there are these inconsistencies, even if I would like to be able to be like the Buddha. And we try to be like the Buddha, to be caring, considerate, compassionate. We recognize these values to be truly important to us as human beings, that when we can manifest these values, then not only is my life made more whole, but the lives around me are able to experience something that is affirming. It's what we value. It's what we hope to be able to manifest and express in our lives. But there are times when we are not that consistent. I might be okay this morning, this afternoon, not so much. I may get angry or disappointed at something that I do. I may, with all the good intentions, engage in a conversation with somebody with hope that we may be able to come to a resolution of some controversy or some disagreement that we might have. And yet, as the conversation proceeds, I begin to become more upset and eventually more angry, unable to provide what I hope to have been able to give to this conversation. To begin to approach a resolution, I become deeper and deeper entrenched in my own point of view. But it's in those times. It's not that we somehow we become somebody else. In those times, we recognize within us these kinds of inconsistencies, these shortcomings and limitations. And when we recognize that in the context of the Amida Buddha's vow, we are all the more grateful that I too am included within this assurance of Amida that provides for the enlightenment of all beings. Today we are mindful of Shakyamuni Buddha, the death of Shakyamuni Buddha. We think about what has been passed down to us over the centuries. When he died, his body was cremated, and his remains were divided among the kingdoms that surrounded his home. And where those remains were located, a stupa was built. And over the centuries, those remains have been divided many times over. And stupas were kind of built wherever these remains were placed. And these stupas represented the teachings of the Buddha, right? They were the remains of the teachings of the Buddha, but but what was important, the remains were important, but what he taught and what he shared with others was of greater importance. Eventually, these stupas kind of took on a stylized version of these rounded domes, became pagodas over time. And these pagodas, what we're kind of familiar with, pagodas, house the sutras of the Buddha, kind of like a library in the lower, the base of the pagoda. And the teachings of the sutras were contained within these pagodas. So they represented the teachings of the Buddha. They actually held or contained within them the teachings of the Buddha. We have a small sample, I shouldn't say sample, a small relic of Shakyamuni Buddha. Not us, but the Buddhist Churches of America has a small relic of Shakyamuni Buddha and his two disciples, Shariputra and Moggallana. And these relics were given to the Buddhist Church of America by the king of then Siam. And these relics are in a small stupa on the San Francisco Buddhist Temple above their onaijin. So on the roof of the San Francisco Buddhist Temple, above their onaijin, there is a small stupa where the relics of Shakyamuni Buddha and the two disciples, Shariputra and Moggallana, are located. In the some almost 70, 80 years since we received these relics, I think there was only one time when it was moved. When we celebrated the opening of the Jodo Shinshu Center, I think at that time it was brought across the bay and then returned to San Francisco. It's kind of remarkable that for us in Jodo Shinshu, the relics of Shakyamuni Buddha and his two disciples, in a not kind of big, it's not a very big deal. For others, it would be a tremendous amount of ceremony and things that would go on. But in a way, it is a reflection of what is important in Jodo Shinshu, that we have received from Shakyamuni, his disciples, in their conversations. We have the opportunity to, through what they shared, the opportunity to experience the very same enlightenment of Shakyamuni Buddha. And although we may be not able to cultivate the mind that simply sees things as they are, to be consistent and thoroughgoing as we would need to be in order to cultivate that mind, we are still able to experience that resolution of difficulties through the work of Amida Buddha. With that understanding, my own limitations, the absolute assurance of Amida Buddha, I am transformed. Not the world around me, not what's out there, not who I engage with. It doesn't make that person a better listener now that I become. I appreciate Amida Buddha as well. I am changed. How I engage the world is different. My life is transformed into a life of gratitude and appreciation. I too am able to participate in this experience that Shakyamuni Buddha spoke about so many centuries ago. Today, as we participate in this Nirvana Day service, with a deep sense of gratitude and appreciation for what we have been able to receive from Shakyamuni Buddha from so many centuries ago. And that last instruction by Shakyamuni Buddha, to seek out your salvation with diligence, is good advice that we have to apply ourselves to think about. And if we realize that we are unable to cultivate the mind that simply sees things as they are, in Jodo Shinshu we are grateful for the assurance of Amida Buddha that provides for the enlightenment of all beings. And we simply respond and we say Namo Amida Butsu in gratitude and appreciation. Today is the Nirvana Day Service in which we remember the life of Shakyamuni Buddha, how his life came to an end, a demonstration, if you will, of what he spoke about. Everything is impermanent. The life of Shakyamuni Buddha also impermanent. The teachings that he spoke of, what he shared with all of his students, continues to also change. As our lives continue to change, our understanding, our experience, our appreciation of the teachings of the Buddha continues to change. Thank you very much for your kind attention. We'll proceed with the rest of the service.
Thank you, Rinban, for your Dharma message today on our Nirvana Day service. We will continue the service with Gatha Ondokusan II on page 76 in the little book, and I think it's in 220 in the larger book.
知識の音読も骨を砕きてもシャスべしナモアミダ仏ナモアミダ仏ナモアミダ仏ナモアミダ仏 Thank you. Please be seated.
Thank you to Rinban Sakamoto, Reverend Mikame, Minister's Assistant Sumi Tanabe, our musician Michael Yoshihara, and our IT guy Kevin Kitagawa for broadcasting this. Are there any announcements?
So, okay. So as Steve makes his way to the mic, next week there's no services here in the Betsuin, at the Betsuin. Service will, every year we have a National Council meeting, and the last thing that we do at the National Council meeting is hold the Buddhist Church of America's Daihyo service. And this year, as in the past, the Daihyo service will be available for viewing and participating in through their YouTube channel. So if you go to the Buddhist Churches of America, the BuddhistChurchesOfAmerica.org, you'll be able to see a pop-up menu events. And if you go to events, you'll see in that pop-up menu a listing for the 2023 Daihyo service. And you'll be able to join us then for that service. It's kind of interesting this year, the service, Reverend or Bishop Harada wanted to have a service that had music in it. And so the Coast District Ministers Association was charged with preparing for all of the services that are a part of this National Council, because Coast District is hosting this National Council this year. And so in our discussions with Bishop Harada, we kind of put together something that we hope will be enjoyable as well as inspirational. There are several artists that will be presenting musical pieces during that Daihyo service next week. It's 10 o'clock. Again, there is a link on the BuddhistChurchesOfAmerica.org website. Please join us for that Daihyo service. If you come here at 10 o'clock, nobody's home, so don't come. But please join us for that 10 o'clock service on the Buddhist Church of America's website. Thank you.
Well, I hope you seeing me is not causing you another moment of difficulty. I'm sure most of you know why I'm here. Talk about, again, our fundraising for our Dharma Center that we intend to build here. And just to let you know that, so we had a dollar for dollar match, a $2 million dollar for dollar matching campaign, and that ends end of February. So this is your last chance. I know many of you have supported us, but hopefully everyone else will continue to support us through, certainly through the end of February, but going on forward. Thank you.
There's no one here from Boy Scouts, so I'll make their announcement, which I think you've heard a couple times now, but the Boy Scouts are holding their annual, well, except for the pandemic years, their annual family dinner on Saturday, March 11th. It's a Korean beef dinner, so the Korean beef, rice, salad, broccoli, dessert. I should have this memorized by now, but obviously I don't. Huh? Not broccoli dessert? That would scare away the Boy Scouts from attending, I think, yeah. So anyway, you can find the link to that on the Betsuin website, and I think there are also flyers in the back. Second thing, as has been mentioned, we have no church service next week, but there are events happening at the Betsuin. So if you haven't heard, the 2023 12th Annual Films of Remembrance series is taking place at the Betsuin next week. So for those not familiar with it, this is in remembrance of the incarceration of Japanese Americans during World War II. So it's taking place in San Francisco on Saturday, but on Sunday, it's taking place here in our gym. So there may or may not be cards in the back, but I know there's cards in the office because this is where I picked this one up this morning. But there's a variety of films being broadcast. So it starts at apparently 10:30 in the morning. So 10:30 in the morning, there's a group of films under the title Films of Resistance. At 12:25, there's another group, Rediscovering History. At 2:45, Rooted in History. 5 o'clock, The Art of Activism. And at 7 p.m., Untold Stories. So underneath each of these categories, there's a grouping of 2 or 3 or 4 films of varying length. So. And you, of course, I think you pay a separate fee for each event, or you can pay one discounted fee to attend them all. So if you're interested in this, you can find out information at their website, filmsofremembrance.org. Okay? And this will conclude today's Nirvana Day service. Thank you all for attending, whether it's in person or online. And please, those of you in attendance, come forward for Oshoko. Thank you.